They say opposites attract.
Well, how about these opposites? Daddies and sons.
You're listening to Daddy and Son.
A podcast where we explore the dynamics of daddy and son relationships, multi-generational views,
And everything else in between. Phoenix.
Welcome back to Daddy and Son. My name is Alex.
And I'm Norm.
How are you doing this week, Norm?
I'm good. Did we do our sound test or have we been doing it for the last 10 minutes?
We've been doing it for the last 3 minutes.
Oh, you bitch. I said that nice and low so the folks at home wouldn't hear that. Oh, I never can trust this guy. See, I don't have the power of the laptop here, folks. So I'm totally at Alex's mercy. But you know what? He does all the work getting this online. So we want to thank him because we don't have any producers offshore. It's him and me, and he does most of the heavy lifting. So thank you, hon.
You're welcome. Team effort. Team effort through and through. How are you doing this week? Oh my gosh, sorry.
It's good. It's good. I'm getting a project done. I'm maybe working on a book. I booked a trip to Portugal.
Yes.
Things are happening. I didn't get out on my bike this week because we've had such weird weather here in Toronto lately.
Yeah,
but,
it's been the weather's been weird all across like the US and Canada. It's just been it's rain one moment, it's
hurricane one moment,
hurricane the next moment, tornado watch the next, then it's sunshine. It's just been all over the place. But what's in Lisbon? What's in Portugal?
Oh, this is a beautiful city. A lot of visitors go to Portugal. It's a great
I'm sorry, you didn't say you were going. You didn't say exactly where you were going.
Well,
I spilled the beans. I'm sorry.
Well, when you go to Portugal, you go to Lisbon, and I have to do some research. And anybody have any suggestions on where to stay or what to do?
Leave it in the comment section.
That's right.
Norm needs travel tips.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, maybe we should do something like that, like a segment called Norm's Travel Tips.
Well, look, you do more traveling than I do, so it should be combined. We've already done one on our flight to Jamaica. Let's wait till you're back from your various trips and I'm back from mine, and we'll do one in the fall. I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about.
We have lots to talk about. Well, for me, this week has been me playing catch up. Last week was my girlfriend Anna Heed's birthday, so shout out to Anna Heed. Who celebrated her 32nd birthday. We went to
She's a youngster.
Lavender Farm.
Oh, that's for last weekend. Okay, nice.
Yeah, that's where this beautiful bouquet of lavender is. I got it from. When we went there for a picnic to celebrate her birthday and just show her some love because she didn't actually want to celebrate her birthday. She didn't want to at all. So it was a surprise. I kind of just charged up the vehicle and then jumped in.
Oh, you charged up. Yeah, you don't gas up your vehicle, you charge it up. Yeah.
Well, which has proven itself to be a lot of problem for me, actually.
I know, I'm not surprised. I'm reading a lot about it. EVs are kind of on the downslope now.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I don't know how we're going to manage that in the future, given that we want to get to net zero by 2035. And no, it's impossible. You leave Toronto and there's no infrastructure for electric vehicles. I got home after 1 because I had to stop in Waterloo and charge for 45 minutes.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
I know.
Well, I'm
not selling it for anybody, but trust me, EVs will change your life.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like our housing situation. We have lots of people and no houses.
Yeah.
We have lots of people and we've got lots of EV cars, but no places to gas them up.
Or nowhere place to park them.
That's true too if you live in downtown Toronto. But anyway. What are we drinking?
So today for the girls who may not know this or whenever you listen to this podcast, today is July 12th and we are on the week and a half of the LCBO strike.
Yeah, day 8.
Yeah. They have closed all the stores in Ontario, well, except for the ones that are not owned by the LCBO. So shout out to Ford. He knew what he was doing. His base, which are the rural areas, them rural drunkies, they're not affected by this because their local convenience store that also happens to be a LCBO is wide open.
Well, you should have picked some up when you were out in the countryside of southern
That
Ontario.
is exactly what I should have done.
I don't know why you didn't do that. In fact, you could have gone to a local liquor store while you were charging your EV coming back.
He knew exactly what he was doing. It's the city folks that didn't vote for him.
Sorry, I disagree.
They're affected by
The
this.
city folks who are so busy, they don't have time to run out to an LCBO every time they want a bottle of wine. They'd like to pick it up at Costco or Walmart or the grocery store. And I and most voters in Ontario fully support that. Thank you.
But there are pros and cons to this.
Listen, this is not our topic tonight. Although let's talk about it because I like this topic.
We're just doing a quick segue. Okay, just a quick segue.
I'm not going to segue into that other one. But anyway, go ahead.
Norman and Alex, quick segue. So honestly, here's the thing, because you and I both know, because all alcohol that comes into Ontario is regulated, whether through customs or through whatever case, it's regulated that comes here. So if you get gifted, as an example, a bottle of alcohol that you don't like, you can always bring it back to the LCBO and get it exchanged for store credit for something else.
Wonderful.
By introducing the regulation of alcohol to private sector, we are taking away that power.
Well, I can tell you something. More people are interested in where they can buy it than where they can take it.
Are they also more interested in price regulation as well? What about the money that will be lost that goes back into our healthcare, that goes back to our infrastructure?
They tax the booze. They're going to get their money that way.
Yes, but you're also paying the taxes not on the booze itself, but you're paying the tax on whatever the base price the reseller says that they want to sell that item
And the government of Ontario is quite happy to take that money too, because that pays for services and healthcare and roads and all kinds of other things.
But that cost is going back to us, the consumers.
By the way, just to let you know, I met the Minister of Finance at church the other day, and I said hello to him. And
I didn't know he's Anglican.
Now we're giving away secrets here, folks.
Look at me outing the people.
It was so funny. As he walked in, I said, "Minister," and he turned and looked at me and like, "Who the hell's this?" And then I reminded him who I was, and he said, "Oh yes, we wrote a note to your organization just a few days ago." It was very interesting. I almost wanted to tell him stick with it with a strike, but I didn't. I thought that was a little too political before church. Anyway,
but church is political. Have you not been paying attention? Have you not been reading anything?
I'm always reading. Come on. Anyway,
church. That's literally what church is. It's politics. But you know, I digress. If the church isn't politics and the Vatican isn't its own independent sovereignty, then I don't know what politics is. But I digress. So this wine, because the LCBO is on strike and I run out of hard liquor, so I've had to slum it and switch over to my collection of vintage reserves. So today we are drinking a 10-year-old Miranio. It's a Malbec from Argentina, and it's pretty good. It's a really delicious wine that has really robust plum flavors, and Malbecs are always really good to just have by themselves. Yeah. They need no introduction. They need no compliments. They need nothing to hold. They can hold their own nuts.
Although you are very eloquently describing it almost like a wine connoisseur on WGRZ Buffalo at 7 p.m. on Saturday night.
Well, you know what? A boy can dream. This is the practicing ground for my future career, darling. With that being said, today is a Norm production.
I'd forgotten. Really? Are we actually going to talk about what we were going to talk about? What's on the masthead for this particular session?
I know. We're halfway through the podcast.
Yeah, we should. We are going to talk about what we were going to talk about
to the
tonight.
main discussion. But lead us off, Norm, because today's your production, and it seems a little bit close to the heart.
Well, we've talked about this offline, and we talk about a variety of things here, don't we? We talk about politics, we talk about sex, we talk about everything, and I thought
now we do.
Yeah, we talk about everything. Why not?
Softly,
yes. But what I want to talk about tonight was, and I don't know whether the right theme is the title is, but when people leave your life, we all have relationships. We have friends. We've had boyfriends. Some of us have had partners. Some of us have had husbands, and every now and then these things come to an end.
That's true.
And I guess I've had one kind of recently, as you know about, and we won't go into a lot of detail because it's not important, but I thought about this morning, and I thought,
the details that matter is how you feel.
Yes, and how you respond to it.
My therapist says a lot. Yeah.
Well, I was kicking this around with a good friend of mine last night, and he said, it's harder when friends leave your life than when boyfriends or partners do. I said, really? That's interesting. And then it made me think, you know what? There are different types of relationships where you part. And I thought, you can have friends leave your life. You can have fuck buddies leave your life, which isn't such a big deal. And you can have lovers and partners. And
but what if the sex was really good?
That you'll miss. I've had all three of those.
You're telling me?
I've had all three of those things leave. So I wanted to talk about tonight, how do we deal with this?
So I was right. This is close to your heart.
Well, I think
it's a matter of the heart.
Well, it's close to probably a lot of people's heart, if we're all honest. We've all gone through a loss of this kind. Breakup is the other word, or whatever you want to call it.
Did I not say, like, maybe 2 episodes ago, like, losing a partnership or losing a partner is basically like a death?
Yes.
You grieve. You have to grieve.
I agree with you. It's losing a partner through death or a marriage breakup are 2 of the most highly stressed. Psychologists have measured this stress, are 2 of the most stressful things that can happen to people. People, it's just way up at the high end. So how do we deal with it? These are real life issues. People out there listening to this, you all can bring to mind, as I'm talking, somebody in your life that isn't there anymore, and it causes heartache, it brings up back emotion. You drive by something, you walk by something, you remember a memory, and bang, it hits you right in the chest. How do you deal with that? How do you move? And I think the other thing is, I tend to go back and review things. So I think, were there warning signs there in the first place? And is that even important to even think about? So I just want to kick this off and see what y'all think about it. And I can tell you some of my thoughts, but I'll tell you, you make the point about grieving. It is a grieving process.
Yeah.
And you have to realize, and I've just recently gone through this, and I'm at sort of stage 6 or 7. I'm accepting something, but I'll tell you, the first couple of weeks, I was, you go through the grief, and I should have researched the stages of grief again.
It's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and finally hope. Yeah.
Interesting.
Which stage do you think you're at? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance? I think more the acceptance, because you're starting to look back and introspect and be like,
Yeah.
I'm now seeing what red flags that I probably ignored in the past.
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting that you really do move through a period of getting better.
Yeah.
If you allow yourself, but you gotta accept the fact that you are gonna go on a very rough ride for a while, and once in a while you'll bounce back. Something will happen, and you'll feel grief again, or denial, or anger.
Yeah.
Occasionally I do, but life goes on.
Well, I don't know, because I've had, I know people. Some people that I'm attracted to, and I'd love to not jump in relationships, but I'd love to be with them. And as you know, I'm the type of person that I multi-date. I'm not afraid to say it. I've said this. I even say that to the people that I'm dating, so that people know what time it is. Because what I'm not gonna do is put my all into someone, put all my eggs in one basket, and then when they decide to up and leave, then I'm left without options or prospects, as you call it. Now, with that being said, how I date looks very, very different. Like I live by a strict set of rules, especially if sex is probably going to be involved. But with that being said, I found myself stuck in a certain level of denial, which is stage 1, and I have not been able to get past it, because I would literally see the red flags and run to it like, you know, you always jokingly call me comrade, but call me comrade, because there'll be red flags everywhere, and I'll just be like, you know, hail motherland.
Well, they're red flags, or they're things that a red flag is something you either see or you just refuse to see, right? Like you just don't want to acknowledge that that is a problem.
You just don't want to acknowledge that it's the problem.
You keep charging ahead.
Yeah,
and
that's me.
And you train wreck. I know.
That's me half the
time.
Well,
it's not just you, hun. It's a lot of people. And by the way, folks, just so you know, when I call Alex hun, it's a friendship, hun. I mean, it's an expression of affection and friendship.
Do you not love me?
Of course I do.
So why are you trying to justify calling me hun?
Well, people out there wonder, are they together? Are they a couple? Well, we're great friends. That's just so they know that.
That's none of their business. Let them speculate.
Honey, you share a lot of your business with everybody here. I think that's a very minor point to share with folks. But that said, why do you think it might be harder to lose a friend? I remember the first time it's ever happened to me. I remember I was living in Ottawa, but it was a long time ago, and I was having a rough time in Ottawa. And this was a friend who had been a friend in Toronto that moved to Ottawa, and he was there for, we were there for 6 or 7 months, and we'd spend some time together now and then. But I was not a very happy, pleasant person at this particular time in my life. I must have been an asshole, I'll be honest with you. And one day he just called me and said, Norm, I really don't want to talk to you anymore.
How old were you, if I may ask?
I was 30 years older than I am now. Younger than I am now.
So you were at
40.
that age.
I was about 40.
Yeah, you're at about that age.
About 40. About what age?
About the age where...
The age that you lose friends? Well, it sure as hell happened fast. And you know what?
That is actually a thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is... Google the loneliness epidemic. It's an actual thing where psychologists have been observing this over different generations, and they've found that typically when people hit their late 30s to mid 40s, they go through a period where
you break off some of your friends and you build new ones.
They break off quite a few bit of their friends. Yep. And they either go through this stage of loneliness.
Yes, and I did that.
And either they bounce back with new friends that are more of their tribe, or they stay in this, deep pocket of this funk.
Yeah.
Of loneliness. Yeah.
Well,
it's a thing.
This was weird because I was living in a city I didn't want to be in.
Actual phenomena.
I know some of our listeners may be familiar with Ottawa. Lovely city to visit. I didn't want to live there. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do there. I thankfully moved out about a year later. But, I'd never had anybody actually announce to me that he wanted in their friendship. Some people just do that anyway. I had somebody a few years ago who I'd known for 30 years that just packed it up, didn't tell anybody. And I soon realized he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And this was a good friend. We'd been through a lot. I introduced him to his partner, who he's still with. I mean, this is somebody that I think, why do people move on? The point is, you gotta accept. I think the number one thing is you gotta accept it.
You have to accept it, and you have to accept that it's nothing to personally do with you.
Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But even sometimes when you think it is, it's probably not you. Case in point, the most recent one, I would say that maybe you did something that was a catalyst, but it's not ultimately...
It was fixable.
Yes.
It was eminently fixable.
at the crux of it all, when you get down to the meat and potatoes, you weren't the issue.
No.
You have a friend that you say that you're going out with your birthday, and you probably haven't seen him in a very long time, and he's been
he's been a friend for 40 years.
Yeah, but he's been a bit of a recluse lately, right?
It happens when you get into your late 70s.
Well,
he's a recluse for me because I don't see him very often, but he's very involved in the community and church and stuff like that. So he's a great guy. I mean, he's a great guy.
And what about your other friend who recently lost his partner, who's also gone into being reclusive, right?
That's an interesting one. Now that's another loss that happens where death takes away a partner. And that's another thing we probably should have added.
And you
to
think
this.
that you think that it would bring you closer to your community, but for some people, they withdraw.
Yes.
And we don't know if he's sitting there in his flat withering away to nothing.
Well, you know what? We talk every now and then, but you know what? I haven't been inside that apartment for 4.5 years.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is had it been the other way around, the other partner probably was more social anyway to begin with. But that's what it is. You accept it. You don't push.
And accept that it has nothing to do with you.
It has nothing to do with you.
Accept that when the time is right, if that person is still supposed to be in your life, that they will be in your life.
Yeah. And that applies to a former boyfriend. It applies to a friend. It applies to even a partner, because some partners do get back together, right?
Yeah.
I've
literally have friends right now that I've been like doing when I say the utmost gymnastics, contortions, when they say bend backwards, my vertebra has been cracked. And I still have not been able to meet up with this particular friend.
Is that logistics or just they're not willing to?
Every single time that it's supposed to get down to...
You get an excuse.
There's always an excuse.
Yeah.
Oh, this work function came up. Oh, this came up. Oh, I forgot I was doing this. Oh, I forgot we were supposed to be doing this. And I just said to myself, we have not had a falling out. There's nothing really that I'm upset with her for, other than we have not been able to make time for each other. And I also acknowledge that I'm a busy person, and I also acknowledge that she's a busy person, which is why I probably feel a little bit of resentment, because I know how busy I am, and I'm still making time in my calendar 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance to see her. So when we get to 3, which we would agree on.
I have somebody
so
like
when
that.
we get 3 weeks, so 3 weeks come in when I'm available and she says she's available, and then she
I had the same thing
takes
happen.
something up, whatever it is, and says, oh, I'm no longer available. I do feel like my time is not valid in this situation. And I know she listens to this podcast. I haven't said her name, but you know who you are, bitch. I'm sorry. I love you. I love you. I love you like you're my sister. I love you. But for me, it's like, but I now have sat back with it and, said.
So that person hasn't really left your life.
I feel like
terms of trade have changed, if you will.
But I feel like also, it's nothing to do with me. First of all,
no, because you've made every effort to try to reconnect and maintain the relationship.
And it's not by lack of trying, but I also believe on her side. I'm framing it differently. She probably feels close to me because I look at this girl as a sister. When my biological mother, before she departed, called this particular friend like a daughter.
Oh, wow. So you've known this.
So I've known this person for a very long time.
Okay.
And
those are hard.
I reframed it.
Those are hard.
It is, and I'm gonna get to that.
The long time ones are the hardest.
I always take long to go. I always go around the bush, but I always get back on the main road. So let me get back onto the main road. I'm in the bush now. it's hard for
That can
me.
be fun.
You cruiser, you. It's hard for me because the accepting part was me framing it differently to say, okay, this is someone who feels comfortably enough in a relationship to be honest with me, because she could have lied, said I'm sick or I'm this or that. She could have lied, but she's very comfortable to be honest with me.
That's good.
And also secure enough in our friendship, in the tenureship of our friendship, to know that yes, we haven't seen each other in a very long time, but if we're still in each other's lives, that bit I don't think is taken for granted.
It's just that the term, I use the word terms of trade. That's a business economic word, but it means the what you're agreeable to doing together has maybe shifted.
And that is what hurts, because even though we're not sexually involved, obviously because I'm a gay man, but even though we're not sexually involved, this is someone who I emotionally, and one may argue that emotional currency is even equally,
more so,
if not more so.
You miss that more than the sexual part.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but then sexual currency.
And this person that I miss in my life now, we had some fun sex, but what I miss is the friendship, the fun, the conversations, just being able to chat about the company, all that good stuff. And you just saw the email I showed you. He's not even willing to meet me. He's, in person to do something. He's going to leave something in his lobby for me to pick up. I mean, that you wonder what goes on in somebody's head. But a good friend of mine who had real struggles earlier this year went to CAMH. And CAMH, for those who don't know, is the Center for Addiction and Mental Health here in Ontario. One of the world-class. And he spent a couple of days there, and really, I saw him just last night. He is a changed person. He is buoyant.